this quote unquote series. It's just kind of basically I'm gonna have formalized rants. That's the thing. I kind of I'm calling this like a series because this is planned out. This isn't just me just randomly talking like about bullshit like a Shinshin does. So anyways, hi guys, ParnellEX. I am back starting a new quote unquote series where I discuss different controversial or hot topics in the League community. I will usually be advocating for change or defending a stance in this. Keep in mind, these discussions won't be improvised rants, like I said, like a Shinshin or something like that. But rather, the ideas and supporting points are kind of thought of and considered over a few weeks so that I can make the strongest argument possible while at the same time not spouting bullshit with no info to back it up. I don't really have an official name for this type of thing or a format. So just let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts or opinions about that. Keep in mind I'm posting this on YouTube, so when I say anything regarding YouTube, I'm planning on posting this on YouTube. Also, wait, do you know how accurate OP.GG is on which accounts are pro players? I think it's pretty accurate, but I don't think they update it very frequently. Anyways, so for my background, I haven't really talked about my full background on stream or anything before, but I'm ParnellEX. I am a Warwick main. I'm high low on NA, currently Masters. I'm not Diamond anymore. Actually, what I wrote into this is I am Diamond 1. But that's not true. We are Masters now. So we still got ways to go, but we are Diamond. I mean, we're Masters now. We're not Diamond 1. I peaked at rank 41 Challenger in May this year, and it was early May, and I'm currently I'm currently sitting at Masters. Also, I am a jungle main. If that wasn't obvious by saying I play Warwick, I have played League since season 1, where I was bronze for not 1 but 2 seasons, and climbed up to Challenger. So I kind of know what it's like to climb the whole ladder and be low elo. I was bronze season 1, season 2, and I climbed slowly over the years. I got Challenger for the first time this season, and yeah, pretty cool stuff. I made multiple roles in champions over the years, including mechanically intensive and skill shot reliant champions, much to the surprise of those who have watched me in the past with playing Warwick, because obviously I miss about all of my ultimates. But I used to main Gangplank, Katarina, Syndra, Master Yi, a lot of champions. I've played this game for a while, but I used to be more of a laner. I know I have the most experience with mid and top lane. Top lane probably, since I mained Gangplank for 2 years, but bot lane I don't know too much about. My goal is to remain open-minded and consider or bring up opinions that haven't really been brought up before. And the reason I'm doing this type of thing is, like I said, I feel like I have a lot of great ideas that I want to share no one else is talking about. So for my discussion, as you can see in the title, is about negativity in League, especially the increase of it over the recent years. This is something that has been brought up a lot by the community and streamers, but no one is really explaining why they feel that way or the solutions to it. It's also, just if anyone that actually goes on Reddit a lot, it's on Reddit all the time. People complain about how horrible the League community is, and just a lot of them just complain about how the game sucks. Also, people just complain about the game, but I'll get into that a little bit. And yeah, everyone just feels like that everyone is just like games are just more toxic than before, which I agree with, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. There's also one thing I do want to consider. I didn't, when I wrote this, this was before Tyler One did his voice chat thing the other day, and I do think that I want to just throw in, I think voice chat would be really helpful with reducing toxicity. You're not going to have, someone's not going to be like telling you to like kill yourself. And if they do, it's just going to be more funny than serious. You're not going to feel as bad. You're going to like laugh when they tell you that in person or through voice. So I think voice chat's it would be a really good idea, and will solve a lot of these issues, especially when I talk about the streamer situation. I think streamers would love voice chat, it'd be awesome for streamers to like get into voice chat and say, you know, be silly and stuff. I say yeah, my first question is whether the community is actually more negative or if there's less like positivity coming from the community. And actually, I want to change my topic here. So less positivity or more negativity. And so when I'm trying to differentiate these two things, like it's kind of an important thing to know is the game actually like, so when I talk about positivity, I like mention is the game like less enjoyable for people? Are they having less fun? And it's just more stressful experience, which is kind of true. And a lot of the reason for that is because of, I feel the game is more geared towards competitive play now. Riot wanted to make this like a competitive game. Before it was in the middle. It was, you know, casual players could enjoy the game and competitive players could enjoy the game. And it was kind of in the middle. It wasn't for like hardcore competitive players or like hardcore casuals. It was just kind of the middle. And casuals still play this game, but it's definitely, they want to push. If you're really hardcore, you want to be competitive, play League of Legends. That's kind of their goal. And I think that's actually a good goal for this game. I understand it completely, but it does make the game more stressful because if you're, obviously it pushes more focus on ranked. And yeah, if people are like inting or something like that, you get pissed off. But I think I'll go more into that a little bit later on. So I gotta find my place here real quick. But yeah, another thing actually I do want to mention about the positivity thing. There's a less, and like I said, just because the game is more competitive, there's a lot less like goofy or like silly like YouTube content that's popular at least these days. Because like back in the day, like season 3, season 4, there was a lot of like Trick2G, Save HD, Donkey, a lot of names that have kind of faded. And I guess obviously Trick still does this stuff, but the rest have quit. And it isn't very popular to have these, you know, fun troll build type things. Like the YouTube videos that are popular these days are still kind of trolly. Like I'm a Cutie Pie. Like everyone has the same style. You know, I'm a Cutie Pie, Night Blue. They just have stream clips. It's kind of funny, but it's still, you care about watching the high elo players, you know, play. And Night Blue is a little different because he does do troll builds and stuff in lower elo, so he has that. But for the most part, people are watching, you know, I'm a Cutie Pie because he plays high elo. And that's just kind of like the appeal nowadays because of how competitive the game is these days. So yeah, I do think the game did get less positive result, but the game also did get more negative. And like that sounds obvious when I'm talking about the game. What I'm kind of talking about is like, obviously the game, you know, feels more negative, but is it actually more negative? Are people more toxic and are people more frequently toxic? Are people saying things that are just way worse than they used to say? And are they doing it a lot more often? And I think yes, but mostly it's frequency. People aren't saying anything that's actually worse than what they used to say. There's just people are raging a lot more. And a lot of that is because of the competitive atmosphere, among other things. It's just that the I'll go, like I said, I'll go more into it. But for, you know, trolling, raging, etc., is just way more apparent. It's not a case of recency bias where, like, you know, say someone, if someone just got out of a ranked game, like I said, if I did this the game before and I got out of a game where a guy was like raging at me and we opened mid at 10 minutes because a guy was pissed off and then the guy starts inting, another guy AFKs. I feel a lot worse. I feel like I had a more negative experience after that game. So the game feels more negative directly after that game. But looking at it from, like, you know, after not playing for a couple of days or having a good time, is it really more negative? And yes, it kind of is. It's just not it's not a case of recency bias. It's not like I got into the last game, therefore the game's more negative. No. And also, one thing I did notice over the years is, because I was Diamond 5, I think Season 5 is when I got to Diamond 5, and I was there for like Season 6 and yeah, I was just season 5 and season 6. I was Diamond 5, and nowadays I smurf at that elo, and smurfing in Diamond 5 feels more toxic. It might have, like I said, I might have just kind of forgotten how it was, but it definitely feels way more toxic more often these days. That's just my general opinion. That might be right or wrong. It's just kind of how it feels. But then again, I also jungle, and jungle is way more toxic of a role than other roles, because you get flame from everyone. You don't get just flame from like one guy, or like jungler or something like that. But going into my next point, I do want to talk about is honor. So the honor system is something that's I'm gonna change this. So the honor system is something that Riot, well, the honor system's been out for a while, but Riot revamped it last year in hopes of bringing people to, well, the incentive to be a good teammate. Of course, it's not really supposed to be the sole reason, people aren't assholes, but it should help those who get a little heated and decide to power through for the betterment of the team. However, the honor system did not help that much, and the game actually got more negative. At least it feels like it got more negative or stayed the same. So why is that? And the reason is just because the honor system is based on performance usually rather than attitude. I actually personally will honor players that have good spirit sometimes, and I'm kind of an exception to that. Usually people just honor whoever carried the hardest, but I do that still sometimes, but I do actually take into account personality sometimes. But a lot of people say they would rather honor or not report a player that was an asshole that carried the game over one that was positive and fed. People would rather deal with someone who was horrible to play with, but he just carried the game, than actually deal with someone who was nice and was feeding. And it's understandable. This game's a competitive game. But I mean, that kind of flawed, at least with honoring and reporting and stuff, because if you're carrying and you're toxic, eventually you're gonna get to the point where you're not carrying and you're just toxic. So yeah, but it does tell you where the priorities of players are on winning. The honor system it's not bad, it's really hard to find a way for it's really hard for Riot to find a system, or any game, to find a system where players actually honor based on who's nice, because everyone's just gonna honor based on who carry. There isn't really as far as I know, there's no system that does that correctly yet, and it's gonna be really hard to find a system that does that properly. But my first main point of 2 points actually here, I thought that was just kind of worth talking about, because honor is something that obviously correlates with toxicity, and I want to emphasize honor system revamp didn't really work too well. It's just kind of there. It gives some people an incentive. I'm not gonna say it doesn't work at all. It's barely noticeable. People aren't keeping that. Not many people are keeping that into account, unless they're I guess it might help the really toxic players that are trying to get from honor level 1 to honor level 2 or something. And when Clash comes around, people might pay more attention, because I don't think you can play Clash unless you're honor level 2. So that might change up. Okay, my next point is game state, and I have 2 main points here. Usually gonna be my 2 main points. My first is game state. So it's just, my first main point as to why the game is more negative is the game state. Most people will say that Season 8 sucks. I mean, I guess that's kind of, not everyone thinks that, but a fair amount of people think that it sucks. I don't think it's very good. I don't think it sucks. It's just, I think it's not the best. It's getting better. It's just not the best right now. Riot did this weird thing in the beginning of the season where the game was frustrating and stale for quite a while. They didn't nerf bot lane, and instead were nerfing other stuff, and they also changed too much all at once as a solution to it. In the mid-season, they nerfed crit carries. Crit carries are still kind of bad. Changed the jungle, which I feels awful, I do want to emphasize that jungle, the meta of the jungle is fine. It's just the jungle itself kind of sucks, and they're really silly. It hasn't been also Akali. I do want to throw in Akali is a ticking time bomb. People are gonna hate her. Trust me on this. It hasn't been really all this bad this season though, as we got diversity in bot lane, the new rune system. A lot of people say they don't like the new rune system, but the new rune system is good. Like the system is good. It's just the way Riot is balancing it has been kind of poor, I think. Not the worst, but poor, not poor. Also, carries are being played in every role. Not everyone's dealing with forced to play tank all season, and also Sneaky released his cosplays, which everyone wants. It's unrelated to Riot. It's just a good thing that came out of the season. The game isn't bad or dying like some people like to claim, but it has slumped compared to previous seasons because of game state. It's also more team reliant these days, so it can be more annoying as laning phase is way shorter, and if your team doesn't know how to rotate properly, you'll get rolled in team fights later on, and it feels really bad. Again, there are pros and cons to this, but for solo queue, it definitely feels bad when you're the better player and your opponent than your opponent in solo queue. And it's something I do want to talk about is that later on. It's just team reliant game versus making it. I think the game should have more of a laning phase, but that's just my opinion, like it used to. And I think I have a solution to it, but I'll talk about that another time. While these things likely have more impact, they aren't the main reason why the community is so negative, and the game state is exaggerated in my opinion. My next point is what I attribute to a lot of the issues too. And the reason why I do say that I think that game state isn't the main issue is that other regions are surviving. Like China and Korea are still flourishing. The game isn't so bad that they're not playing the game. A lot of it is just like an NA and maybe EU problem. Other regions are doing fine. Maybe they don't like it, but they're not dying. The population isn't going down as a result. So, yeah. But my second and main point, let's get to it, is streamer influence. Now, I do want to say, like I said, there's other factors that you could play around. Like Riot could play around other things in order to improve the attitude of players. Like I said, I mentioned that Tyler One brought up the voice chat, which I think is a great idea, and just other stuff. But this is a unique point. I don't think many people talk about that I want to mention, and it's just something I noticed in other games. So streamer influence isn't just. I'm not talking about just Twitch streamers, but also like YouTubers and other content creators. But I call it streamer influence because Twitch streamers are probably the most important in regards to this topic. They're the most influential of people. So what do I mean by this? It's the influence of streamers or YouTube personalities on the community and their attitude towards the game, among other things. Essentially, the people who watch PewDiePie all day, every day, are more likely to correlate their opinions, attitudes, and personalities with them because they dedicate so much time to watching his stream. If you watch PewDiePie all day, you're probably gonna your opinions are gonna probably be more like PewDiePie's, for example. And that's just kind of also you might watch him because you initially feel like your opinions correlate with his, but it goes both ways. This applies to all content creators, but streamers are obviously more influential due to how much of their personality is shown compared to like a 5-minute YouTube video that's uploaded once a week. If you're a streamer, you're streaming all day. If you're like YouTube, you don't know what the YouTubers' personalities are that much. They just kind of throw in a video, and streamers, you get to see the real streamers and the real them. I'm not directly, kind of a disclaimer, I'm not going to direct any hate towards the streamers that I might mention. And they do what they do to make money, and it works. And that's fine and respectable. I'm just going to state the facts. So, some of the most popular streamers right now are Tyler One, I Will Dominate, Shinshin, Tarzan, and more. What do these type of streamers have in common? They're known for their toxicity and controversial attitudes. The reason is The reason this is popular and allows these streamers to dominate the Twitch market, at least especially in League of Legends, is because controversy equals views. There's usually, for streamers, there's usually two, at least how I see it, there's two genres that like dominate Twitch. So there's humor streamers, and then there's outrage. Like outrage and humor are kind of the two genres I think they're dominate. Like you watch QtPie because he's funny. You watch Hashenshin because you don't know what he's gonna do next, right? He's gonna do something absurd. It's a lot less entertaining to watch someone say nothing all day because it's predictable and it gets stale. Like if you just watch someone just play good all day, it's like okay, you don't feel that connected, and it's not entertaining. But someone like Hashenshin, like I said, is interesting to watch because he has absurd views and opinions, and you don't know what he's going to rant about next or complain about. There's also a thing where someone will watch these streamers because they complain about things that they agree with, such as a champion being OP. You know, if people who complain a lot, eventually they're going to like complain about something that you also think is OP or something like that. So it's really easy way to get views on your stream and applies to a lot of different things outside of League. For example, on reality TV shows, like The People, like if you're watching like what's that one show people watch? Real Housewives or something like that. They're not actually like living like a real American life. It's not really a reality, but they're screaming, they're crying every episode, despite being like rich millionaires and having like fine lives. It's the same concept, and the absurdness is what makes people want to watch. That's why they watch those shows. It doesn't mean this is the only way to entertain. Like I said, there's two genres. I think they're dominant, which is humor and outrage. And outrage is popular with League right now. Humor is more popular with like Fortnite and stuff, in my opinion. There's also like skill. Skill is a factor when it comes to everything. But in terms of personalities, it's just like its own genre, and the toxicity genre is popular right now for the League on Twitch. On top of that, these streamers don't necessarily have to be toxic. It's just what works for them. Like IWillDominate, for example, seems to be, in my opinion, he seems to be like a really creative and passionate person, and could easily switch the direction of his stream if he wanted to. But he doesn't have to, because people love to hear his flame all day, and it's really easy for him. Like it's easy to just just say how you feel. If you feel pissed off, it's easy to say. You don't have to like hide it or anything. It's really easy. That's why it's so many people do it, because the market's there for it. So some people might wonder why it matters for a game that is global, but the issue in particular is NA specifically, or at least the West, where like 5 or 10% of the player base, like people in NA, they like to think that we're like the entire player base, but in reality we're a very small portion. It's the Asians, they're generally more popular. And the rest of the world still loves League, so it must be more than the game itself, in the game state. So, like I said, it's more than just the game being bad, because otherwise other regions would be struggling. So obviously it means it has something to do without it, and I think that streamer personalities is a big influence on people. So basically, if the streamers are complaining and wait, what the heck did I just write down? Oh, if they're complaining and hating about the game, tons of then the community will feel the same way. If they're toxic, we will be toxic, and that adds up. So just like I said, in conclusion, with streamer influence, if Dom is complaining about the game all day, if you're watching IWillDominate all day, he's complaining about how. Or no, QtPie. I'll think about QtPie, because even he complains about stuff. If he's complaining about how OP jungle is all day, suddenly everyone's complaining about jungle. They wouldn't think about how OP jungle is on their own. Well, some would, but it's like confirmation bias basically, and that's just kind of the point I want to make. So, I'm going to my conclusion here, which is what should Riot do? So what should Riot do? How should they handle it? Because this is their game, so this is kind of their problem. And I do think it's a solvable, fixable issue. Like it's not, we're not doomed. The game isn't just going to be negative forever. So fixing the game is to start, just fixing things that people are annoying. That's going to be an aspect. Obviously, that'll get people less ticked off, but people are always going to be ticked off. Maybe next season they'll will be more fun and balanced for more people. And like I said, not that this season is really that bad. It's exaggerated quite a bit, but it's just definitely slumped a little in comparison to other seasons for most people. Riot adding new content to the game, such as Nexus Blitz and Clash, is really huge. Clash in particular would be great because even if you can't find friends to play with, you can watch streamers collaborate and have a blast. The streamers will love it. Like streamers are going to have a blast once Clash comes out, and they'll be having fun. They won't be complaining all day. They'll be enjoying their time. If the streamers are enjoying their time, then people will be more influenced to enjoy the game as well. Content creators love a reason to collaborate, and it'll make them happy. Clash also embraces the competitive side of League, which is what Riot wants to push. So Clash in general is just genius, honestly. If they get it to work here soon, it'll be fantastic. I think the most important thing Riot could do is to support the streamers that promote their game. It could be indirectly through Twitch Prime perks, such as like skins every season. I'm not the only one who thinks about a Twitch Prime skin is obvious, for Twitch. But Twitch Prime support means streamers are getting more subs and therefore more money. Think like how Fortnite does it with Ninja. Ninja is getting enough subs to make millions a year solely on the subs. Riot could also indirectly support streamers by paying them to advertise new skins or have a positive attitude. It's kind of a weird thing. I just kind of want to throw that point in. They can push streamers to show off new content or something like that, but it's a little it's kind of fascist. I don't know how to describe that, but it depends on how they handle that. They can't, if they're being too controlling about it, it's a little sketchy. But community events are another thing that like Fortnite does, for example. I do bring up Fortnite because Fortnite is really popular, and they're doing Epic Games is doing a fantastic job with Fortnite with pushing. They did a fantastic job with pushing streamers to advertise their game more. So yeah, community events for streamers are great. Stuff like exhibition games before LCS, like finals, could get the streamers and community involved with the pro scene while just being fun for everyone in general. They could have like the winner of the match, like if the exhibition game could be like a ARAM 1v1 or standard 5v5 tournament, and they could just win money or something. So there's incentive for the content creators to participate. Whatever it is, the community events for streamers or something like a streamer Clash tournament would be great. That's all. That's something I just kind of add at the end. I think something would be cool is if they hosted like a content creator Clash tournament for a Clash tournament that specifically has all the content creators. They form teams and stuff, and they like stream it or something like that. I think that's a cool idea. But in I'm gonna write conclusion. Conclusion. All right. So in conclusion, Clash and Nexus Blitz are both a great start to turning this game around. I think the best way Riot could positively impact League is to support the streamers that support their game and influence the player base every day. Epic Games have done this for Fortnite and has allowed the game to grow substantially on Twitch. More Twitch views for League of Legends means more players invested in and hyped for the game. The motions and opinions of the community start with the streamers and work their way down, so why not start there? That's my conclusion. Trying to think if I think I had another point somewhere, but that's basically it. Basically, in conclusion, if Riot actually shows more support, directly or indirectly, another indirect form of support would be the voice chat, for example, right? But I just think that like if they support streamers a little bit more, streamers won't be inclined to shit talk their game all day. and streamers will be happier. I mean, streamer, the thing is, you still want content creators to criticize the game, because then if they actually do feel like the game is bad, they'll that means something needs to change. It's just specifically just like toxicity and stuff, I think is a big thing. If streamers are toxic, players are gonna be toxic. I think that's a big problem. All right, I'm gonna read